Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
The meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the law and I decide. Well, so I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman.
Ketanji Brown Jackson should not be confirmed to the Supreme Court. She is the very, very worst of our society. The decadence and repugnance of a society that must perpetually be trying to destroy itself through wokeism, through critical race theory, through the metastasization of bad ideas, and indeed communism, which states that we must destroy everything that came before us and that we must build something new. Really what it is it's a way to get power for themselves. They have to attack the church. They have to attack gender. They have to attack your daughter in sports. They must attack the structure of the family. You may recall that Black website said that the thing that they were most concerned about is the nuclear. They can usher in their. See, the things standing in them getting the communist utopia where they are in charge, you own nothing, you have nothing, and your rights have been ground to powder, is a couple of societal constructs that you happen to like. Capitalism, the family, being a man or a woman, sports that are designated by gender. Those are things that are standing in their way. They must destroy that. They must destroy the church. If you read Vladimir Lenin, read Karl Marx, the first thing he says is the biggest impediment to Marxism is the church. These institutions that give people comfort, that give them purpose, that give them grounding, that moor them, that give them a sense of being, those are the institutions that must go. They must go right away. And Ketanji Brown Jackson is the distillation of these poisonous worldviews onto it. She is there to replace a also very consistently liberal Justice Breyer. I actually flew on the same plane as Justice Breyer before. I got to chat with him a little bit. I'm no lawyer or Supreme Court nut. I don't know much about his rulings. I just know he consistently voted with the Democrats. Very forgettable dude. There is an entirely different strand of liberal that is now being represented in Ketanji Brown Jackson in her court hearing. And what you heard there, the most damaging and devastating line of questioning you'll ever hear in a Supreme Court nomination process. What is a woman? Marsha Blackburn asked. Ketanji Brown Jackson said, I have no idea. And Marsha Blackburn says, you have no idea? And she goes, I'm not a biologist. Ben Shapiro tweeted today, what's 2 + 2? What does that equal? I don't know. I'm not a mathematician. I'm going to take my family out to dinner tonight, and I'm going to look at the restrooms inside of the pizza place we're going to go, because my daughter, who, by the way, when my daughter was born, they gave us a little certificate that says mark the gender on the certificate when my daughter was born. I'm going to go and take my daughter out for pizza tonight, and I'm going to look at the bathroom, the restroom signs. I'm going to go, I'm not a biologist. How could I possibly know which one to use? And then in the state of Florida, I'd probably get arrested for using the wrong one. It's about taking away everything that centers you as a person and replacing that with woke ideology, which is really just full stem-to-stem, end-to-end government control of your life. There are too many things that impede on government control. The family structure is one. The family structure is more powerful than the government. Church structure is more powerful than the government, though they're doing a great job at taking that away. How you identify and how you live your life if they can confuse that, if they can scramble those eggs, baby, well, then they can start getting broken people who need the government to defend them and tell them who they are and what they can do. That's what it's all about. If you read the Communist Manifesto, you start to see precisely where this worldview comes from. The Communist Manifesto, of course, gives way to critical theory, which gives way to critical race theory, and then you have Ketanji Brown Jackson. There you go. That's it. She's certainly not the only person who couldn't define what a woman is. If you asked Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, could you imagine the face and the expression that you would get? Come on. Imagine if you asked Joe Biden, what is a woman? I would love to also see Kamala Harris. The passage of time. The passage of time. Well, I passed the time, ladies and gentlemen, and I scrambled a few eggs myself, and I went ahead and checked on what science has to say about what a woman is. Very interesting. You know, no matter what you choose to identify as, a scientist, an archaeologist will be able to dig up your bones 100 years from now and say, well, that was a man or a woman. You want to know why? Because it's encoded all the way down to your DNA. In your chromosomes, there is either a XY chromosome, that would be a male, or a 2X chromosome. It's on the 23rd pair of chromosomes in your DNA. It's on all people. It's embedded in your DNA. You can dig up a bone and say, that's a woman, or that's a man. That bone could be 1,000 years old. It's down to your very biological DNA carriage. Now, of course, there's many other biological manifestations of differences, but you could just simply state a woman is someone, if you wanted to get extremely sophisticated about it, well, someone with 2X chromosomes. That's a woman. There you go. Everything from lifespan to your pelvis to your brain to your height, there are differences. Those differences aren't bad or good. In fact, larger brain size usually means smaller IQ. That's true. But they are there. And to say that they don't exist, of course, is wrong. Dr. Deborah Sohn, who's a PhD in this, recently said in her book, page 17, chapter 17, called The End of Gender, Deborah Sohn writes, biological sex is male or female. Contrary to what is commonly believed, sex is defined not by chromosomes, which it actually is, but let's listen to the good doctor, our genitals or hormonal profiles, but by gametes, which are mature reproductive cells. There are only two types of gametes. One is called sperm, and the other is called an egg, and that is produced by a female or a male, respectively. Sex is therefore binary. It's not a spectrum. You can also find the difference in sex, of course, inside of chromosomes. You could find it in the bones. So I don't know why this is such a big question for someone who considers herself the first black woman to be nominated to the Supreme Court. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you are going to call yourself the first black woman to be nominated to the Supreme Court, you got to know what a woman is. Otherwise, you can't call yourself that. If you are the first black person nominated to the Supreme Court, well, Clarence Thomas has been on the Supreme Court since 1991. What makes a headline out of Ketanji Brown Jackson going to the Supreme Court is that she is a woman, and there is not a black woman on the Supreme Court. But it would be indicative of the headline writers and Ketanji Brown Jackson herself to be able to just say, hey, this is who I am, and this is why I'm a woman. And by the way, what she's going to be ruling on in the Supreme Court is going to have a lot to do with gender. It's going to have a lot to do with a woman's right to choose. Well, how can you defend that? She's clearly pro-abortion. How can you defend a woman's right to choose if you don't know what a woman is? I mean, it kind of seems basic. Big points to any reporter who asked Joe Biden what a woman is. Big points to any journalist who asked Kamala Harris, what is a woman? Huge gold star to any Republican, because the battle for this nomination is ongoing, who asks Ketanji Brown Jackson, "Hey, you say that you're a woman. How do you identify a woman?" These are basic questions, and if you can't come on board with just the basic biology here, then you're not fit for the court. You're not fit to hold a seat on the highest court in the land. And you're certainly not fit to celebrate yourself as the first black woman to get a nomination to that court, which you are, unless you can, of course, define that. It's what we get when we use intersectional and identity politics as the precursor for somebody's nomination or seat at the table. You should be focusing on somebody's record, on their mind and their heart. These kind of things are not the ways you should be viewing human beings. In fact, viewing human beings based on the amount of melanin in their skin is wrong. It's tokenism. It's not the way that you should be staffing. You should be staffing based on somebody's mind and based on somebody's heart and based on the decisions that they make. Those are the kind of things that matter, ladies and gentlemen. And you should use common sense in making these decisions. And Ketanji Brown Jackson is the exact distillation of how common sense has evaporated in this country. It's the scariest thing we've seen in a long time. And we thought we'd devote the entire show to Ketanji Brown Jackson and the clips from the hearing that you will not see on corporate media and you will not see in the corporate press, because they are devastating. And they are devastating because the vast majority of people inside of the corporate media and the corporate press would look at these questions and not have the answer themselves. So once more, you have to be able to define a woman, to be able to celebrate a woman, to be able to protect a woman's right to choose. So if you can't do any of those things, then your entire ideology is self-defeating, it's contradictory, and it isn't an ideology at all. It has no truth. Pretty shocking. I mean, truly. Now, once more, we must state a dangerous moment, and every Republican who doesn't get on board here is complicit in this type of rewriting of what truth is, and they don't deserve to be serving in our Senate. Now, here's the good news. The vast majority of people do oppose Ketanji Brown Jackson. 47% of voters believe Biden's Supreme Court nominee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, should be confirmed. 19% oppose her confirmation. Independents are wary of Jackson. 39% of independent voters say that she should be confirmed, an unusually low number. 43% have no opinion. Well, this is perhaps why. Ketanji Brown Jackson, on perhaps the most important question of our time, should the court be packed by a single president, thus changing the balance of power forever in Washington, D.C., and starting us on a cycle where every president adds 7, 9, 3,000 judges to the Supreme Court? Ketanji Brown Jackson had this to say about that horrifying prospect on the court that she wishes to sit on. Go.
You say this question should be left to Congress as a policy issue. I'd reiterate that sitting Supreme Court justices have spoken on that matter, so I don't think it'd be inappropriate for you to do if other people sitting there have said that it's a bad idea.
Well, respectfully, Senator, other nominees to the Supreme Court have responded as I will, which is that it is a policy question for Congress. And I am particularly mindful of not speaking to policy issues.
So Ketanji Brown Jackson can't say whether the court should be packed. Well, that's a pretty damning thing. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is, of course, the leftist lioness, may she rest in peace. Boy, she was able to say in her hearing that court packing would be wrong, and it would start, of course, a cycle of people politicizing the court. It'd be very, very dangerous, and ain't nobody wanting that. So even the favorite child of the left, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was against court packing, and she was an extreme radical Ginsburg. That's why she was so beloved. Extreme radical leftist on the court. Ketanji Brown Jackson is more radical than her, just by that simple test. But it gets worse. Ketanji Brown Jackson, when does life begin? Let's listen.
When does life begin, in your opinion?
Senator, I No.
Ma'am?
I don't know.
Senator, I don't know. I don't know when life begins. Again, you have to have answers to these questions other than I don't know, because you're going to be ruling on these types of decisions. You know, there's a huge Roe v. Wade challenge right now inside of the Supreme Court. They've already heard the arguments. I don't think it's going to go away in a very long time. And so let's state for the record that you need to have a decisive answer when it comes to what is a woman? When does life begin? Let's continue. Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, one of our favorites on this program, said, when does equal protection of the law attach to a human being? Which is a spectacular question. Equal protection of the law, of course, is the foundation stone of our Constitution. It says that before the law, we are all equal. No one's 3/5 of a person. No one is lesser than. We all, as American citizens, had a major breakthrough when we wrote our founding documents. Those documents of which it's your entire job on the Supreme Court to interpret. That is it. Your entire job is to interpret our laws through our founding documents. And the breakthrough was this: all men are created equal. The end. That's the breakthrough. And so equal protections means that there is equality before the law. Really valuable. So if you're a human being in America, you have equality before the law. You should be sentenced no matter who you are. Well, when does that right that we have attach to you as a human being? Great question. Go.
When does equal protection of the laws attach to a human being?
Well, Senator, I believe that the Supreme Court, actually, I actually don't know the answer to that question. I'm sorry. I don't.
Okay.
So, still doesn't have an answer. I don't know is really, really not a great strategy. What does that say about you? What does that say about your capacity to think and rationalize and move through these complicated issues? And by the way, we deserve to know this. We can't vote directly for Ketanji Brown Jackson or against her. We can vote for our senators. Our senators can vote for or against a Biden Supreme Court nominee, and then that becomes the people who interpret the laws for all of us. Well, it's extremely valuable, this position. And so we, as Americans, deserve to know, what is a woman? When does life begin? Are you for the destruction of the very court you wish to sit on? Let's see here. Are you for the destruction of children who are unborn? Senator Graham had this to ask: can a child feel pain at 20 weeks? Yikes. Listen to the response.
Can an unborn child feel pain at 20 weeks in the birthing process?
Senator, I don't know.
Are you aware of the fact that anesthesia is provided to the unborn child at that time period if there's an operation to save the baby's life, because they can in fact feel pain? Are you aware of that?
I am not aware of that.
Well, that may come before you one day, so just keep an open mind.
Listen, if you're going to be ruling on the evils of abortion, you better damn well know if children can feel pain. These are extremely important questions. I can tell you this: my wife is pregnant right now, and I can feel that baby kick. Boy, she is a kicker. If we had a soccer ball, she'd launch it across the living room. And we are very excited next month to be welcoming baby number 2 to the Johnson family. That baby can interact with me. It's incredible. She can feel things in the womb. You can feel, I'm not trying to get too personal here, but you can really like push my wife, like when she's sitting in the wrong spot, you can push her around. The baby moves, the baby reacts to you inside the womb. There's been many studies on this, fetal pain, and those studies are quite conclusive. Yes, unborn children can feel pain. Anyone who's been a father, mother, who's been pregnant understands this. And you have a basic human decency, basic human nature to not want a truly the most helpless you can possibly be is in the womb. I mean, you really are utterly dependent on somebody else. You don't want that child to feel pain. You don't want to bring pain to that child. They're utterly helpless. So if you were wanting or indifferent to that child's pain, you're an evil person, and I'll happily say it. Ketanji Brown Jackson was asked about critical race theory. Speaking about child abuse, she sits on the board of a school, a woke school for little children in Georgetown, where the worst people on planet Earth live in Washington, D.C. She sits on a school that openly and actively teaches critical race theory and some of the most poisonous texts to the students of that school, actively indoctrinating them. Anti-Racist Baby by Ibram X. Kendi sits on the bookshelves there. If you've ever opened up that book, man, your skin will burn just holding it. It is one of the worst books I have ever seen or read. It teaches children to hate each other. It teaches children that they are either born evil or they're born with various privileges. They're born flawed creatures, right? Boy, oh boy. Not in the biblical sense, man. In like the context of Ibram X. Kendi's Marxist worldview, you're flawed. That is against God's design. As is a lot of this stuff, quite frankly. In the book of Genesis, it says that God created man and woman. It says that God is creating differences. This goes against the design, the very bedrock of Western civilization, in case you're wondering what they're trying to destroy. Ketanji Brown Jackson claiming that she's not sure about critical race theory being taught at the school that she sits on the board of. Go.
But I've never studied critical race theory, and I've never used it. It doesn't come up in the work that I do as a judge.
So with respect, I find that a curious statement because you gave a speech in April of 2015 at the University of Chicago in which you described the job you do as a judge. And you said sentencing is just plain interesting because it melds together myriad types of law, criminal law, and of course constitutional law, critical race theory. So you described in a speech to a law school what you were doing as critical race theory. And so I guess I would ask, what did you mean by that when you gave that speech?
With respect, Senator, the quote that you are mentioning there was about sentencing policy. It was not about sentencing. I was talking about the policy determinations of bodies like the Sentencing Commission when they look at a laundry list of various academic subjects as they consider what the policies should be.
Okay, but you were vice chair of the Sentencing Commission, so let me ask again, what did you mean by, because that was an official responsibility of yours, what did you mean by what you were doing was critical race?
What I meant was that there are a number of, that slide does not show the entire laundry list of different academic disciplines that I said relate to sentencing policy, but none of that relates to what I do as a judge.
Ketanji Brown Jackson is starting to get exposed for who she really is. She is a woke, dangerous radical who wishes to uproot what we have here in this country, the foundations that keep us together, even by the threads, the family, racial harmony. There's not a single person in this country who wants, let me rephrase, show me a racist, an actual racist, define it the same way that I define it, which is the same way the world should define racism, which is being racist against somebody based on their origin or how they look, and I will help you fight them. I will go with you to fight the racist. I don't like that. That's against God's law. Every person has intrinsic value. Every person has intrinsic decency. Every person is a special, unique person created by God. Nobody is born with inherent privilege, or nobody is born a victim. And by the way, we're born the way that God made us, and you shouldn't be demonized for that, and you certainly shouldn't be cast out as the other if you're born at all, which Ketanji Brown Jackson is totally indifferent to as well. Whether you are born and then what you learn after you're born, whether the poison of critical race theory gets injected into your child with or without your consent, Ketanji Brown Jackson, she just doesn't care. In case you were wondering, ladies, suburban moms, Starbucks, minivan, or suburban driving lib moms from the nice, pristine little suburb. This is what they want. The rules are this. You don't control your children. They're not yours. They belong to the government. We can teach them whatever we want, with or without your consent. And you're no longer a woman. You're not a woman. We can't even define what a woman is. So, suburban women and mothers, I need you to take this to heart. They're really coming after you. Men don't go for this stuff. They're really coming after you. That's what this is all about. Because men are stupid, and we make dumb decisions, and we're not really what hold the families together. I'm not arguing against good fatherhood here. I try as hard as I can every day to be a good father. But if you want to know the glue that holds my house together, it's my wife. If you want to know who keeps the lights on around here, who keeps the toiletries stocked, who keeps food in the pantry, who keeps our daughter, living and moving, it's my wife. They're coming after you. They're coming after the moms. This is a war against parents, and they're specifically targeting women. It's dangerous. And this alone should be what makes you and your blood boil. This alone should be enough, this hearing, to say, wow, I cannot believe what they have exposed here in the woke agenda to uproot America and all that we hold dear, and to replace it with their own little commie utopia where there is no gender, where biological sex means nothing, where being a woman or a man means absolutely nothing, where there are no restrictions on abortion, perhaps it's encouraged, shout your abortion, where there are no limits on when you can have equal protections before the law, and when the theory of critical race theory, which is blood libel, which is libeling a child, not on any basis of what they've done, but on the basis of who they are, how much melanin happens to be in their skin based on the ancestry of their parents. That goes back thousands and thousands of years. Guys, this is sick stuff, and this is why I say she should not be confirmed. She is the distillation of everything wrong inside of the perverse and twisted worldview of the left right now. And this nomination should go down in flames, as should every single Democrat or, God help us, Republican who votes for this nomination. Mitt Romney signaling that he may vote for it. Ben Sass from Nebraska signaling they may vote for it. These people, absolute scum, should be thrown out of the party. And you know what? Voters are going to do it. Man, voters aren't going to forgive you for this. And we have polling to explain that right now. And to lay this bare, and you want to know why the Democrats are trying to sweep this nomination under the rug, why they are so scared about the direction that this nomination hearing is going. You're starting to see now Dick Durbin, who's running the nomination, like stop questioning and stop lines of questioning. Really dangerous and evil stuff what this judge has done as it pertains to ruling for sickos and perverts on the internet and for terrorists in Guantanamo Bay. Both evil. Both people that she wants, Ketanji Brown Jackson, out on the streets of your nice little suburbs that you live in. Well, the suburbs are turning against them. This, according to the Washington Examiner, suburbs switch to Trump. He leads Biden 45-42 in 2024 clash. In a blow to his political base, suburban Americans are abandoning President Joe Biden after giving him his 2020 victory. In a new 2022-2024 election polling from Emerson College, a liberal college and a liberal poll, found that Trump leads Biden by a huge 47-38 margin among suburban voters. The shift is notable and worrisome for Democrats in Biden's re-election campaign. After the 2020 election, the liberal Brookings Institution declared that the suburbs won it from Biden and predicted that they would become the party's backbone. In many ways, the 2020 election would represent a breakthrough for Democrats in the sense of the suburbs, along with continued urban core support, which could make them competitive against the blue wall states. But 17 months after economic and international turmoil and confusion, Biden lost the suburbs, according to Spencer Kimball, the director of the Emerson College poll. As a result, Emerson's poll now shows that Trump would beat Biden because the suburbs care about their gas prices. It's hard to drive your 5 kids in their Suburban when it's costing $250 a pump to get them to soccer practice. Yeah, moms care about that kind of stuff. I know it's wild. It's true. Former President Trump has a 12-point favorability advantage over Biden. Whoa! That's huge! 59% of voters say they have a favorable view of Trump. You want to know why? Because you want to know what matters in the suburbs? Not mean tweets, not Twitter. What matters in the suburb is not Twitter. What matters in the suburbs is, are my children being indoctrinated against me? Do my groceries cost double what they should? Does my gas cost double what it should to take my kid to soccer, football, volleyball practice? That's what the suburbs care about. The end. Regarding education, Trump leads among among those without a college degree, and Biden leads among those with a college degree. Well, what does that say? Another poll conducted by Grinnell College shows devastating news for Biden. Do you approve or disapprove of the job Biden is doing? The respondents answered, overall 34 approve, 52 disapprove. Yikes. Independents, that's 31 to 52. It actually gets worse among independents. Yikes. Men and women are about the same. 33% approve, 36% approve. A plurality disapprove. Yikes. Man. Holy smokes. But still hanging strong with suburban women. Yeah. We'll see how long it lasts. We'll see how long it lasts, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to do well. Because suburban women, even in Los Angeles, where we have here the Daily Mail reporting that the price of gas is now above $6 a gallon. For the first time, of course, ever. And it continues to soar. Gas in Los Angeles hitting a record high of $6.01 on Tuesday. The highest recorded average in a major U.S. city ever, experts say. Gasoline continues to soar on the West Coast, particularly in California, which, by the way, talk about perversity of all of this, whether it's Ketanji Brown Jackson's answers to what is a woman or when does life begin, or whether it's Joe Biden's perversity in his worldview of America. His worldview of America is that America is there to serve him, not the other way around. That's how he's always lived his life. This, ladies and gentlemen, is perverse because California is absolutely blessed with rich natural resources, which they could develop at any time, with an incredible capacity to have single-party rule, and you could lower your gas taxes right away. California has like $2 more for gas taxes. It's a lot. So they're adding an enormous amount of tax to their gasoline. They could get rid of that tax today. Democrats would just go in and cut the tax. Wouldn't be a problem. They control the Senate, the House, the governorship. Nah, that's perverse. To literally hurt the poorest people in your society, the people who need help the most, to get from place to place and do their jobs. Wow. These people are jackals. Don't side with them. Disavow people who are joining hands with them. They do not want your best interest in mind. They want what Karl Marx wanted, which is the tear down of all society. The end of history is what Marx called it. The end of history would be the end of the family, the end of the church, the end of this nation as we know it, the end of capitalism. They want to utterly replace it. And they want people like Ketanji Brown Jackson on the courts so that no one can stop them. That's why she's the most dangerous person I've ever seen nominated to the Supreme Court. It's why every person should vote against her, and she should not sit on the court. The end. All right? We are here to support you. We are here to support America. We call ourselves conservative, but, if there's nothing left to conserve, well, what's the point? So that's why we do this show. We want to tell you the truth. We want to show you the clips that they don't want you to see about Ketanji Brown Jackson and the state of this nation. That's what we do here. We try and do it with a laugh and a smile because we do love this place a lot. And we intend to keep this place great. It is the greatest nation on earth. The way we're going to do that is having the right priorities. God, family, country. That is the way. We were born free men and women, and we intend to stay that way. And so God bless you. Thank you for watching. My name's Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show.